Should I tell Alex to keep it down?
We probably will have to at some point ask Alex to keep it down.
Because he won't.
Hey, Alex, shut up.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we just had to ask our head of sales, Alex, to keep it down. He's extremely loud and
Thought we said shut up.
always wants to be the center of attention. Other than that, hey, so here we are. We're on episode 2 of the official Madrid Boardcast, which tells you we made it through episode 1. We've survived.
And they said it wouldn't make it.
And they said we might not. I don't know who said that. Someone said it. But here we are, episode 2. Hopefully, it can only go up from here and only get easier. Once again, I'm Eagle, art director here at Madrid Skateboards. I've got Bo Brown to my right, and we've got an extra special guest for episode 2 in the form of Roger Hickey today.
Today's podcast is bound to amaze, amuse, and quite possibly give you nightmares. Roger Hickey and I have been racing together and traveled the world together since probably before many of you were born. Roger started racing downhill skateboards in 1974, but that was by no means the first time or the only way he's ever gone fast. Racing motorcycles since he was a kid, off-road, boats, jet-powered cars, electric cars are just some of the ways he's found to keep pushing speed limits. Roger wasn't just fast. He was multi-time world champion in both stand-up and luge. He's been on the cover of Thrasher 3 times, the last issue of the original Skateboarder magazine, and in numerous commercials. He was also the oldest person to ever break 100 miles an hour on a skateboard. Nowadays, Roger spends most of his time running 3 successful businesses, Fresh Park Ramps, and 2 businesses in the biotech world. Let's get into this. Don't say I didn't warn you.
All right, listeners, Roger Hickey is joining us today.
I'm glad you left out the arrests.
Well, we didn't leave him out.
Oh,
Just,
oh,
haven't gotten there
yeah.
yet. We'll get there.
That was racing cops.
Where are you from? Why did you start racing skateboards?
So I started, my dad raced dragsters, and my dad was crazy. Luckily, there was no internet until we were well on our way to not getting arrested for the stuff we were doing. But my dad raced dragsters, so my stroller, when I was a baby, was built by my grandfather that built race car chassis, and he built me a go-kart. And what they would do is, as they were pushing me so that I wouldn't steer it had steering, but so I wouldn't steer it, they had a handle like a lawnmower, and they just lift the front wheels, and I just keep steering. So then eventually after, I don't know, whenever you get out of a stroller, they cut the handle off, and my dad let me start driving it down the hills. We lived on a really steep hill in Highland Park, on Timtic.
That's where you're from? No,
I was born in Glendale, and then we lived in Highland Park, and it was Tipton Way, which is probably the first gravity car at 1.5 years old. The brakes were just pitch it in sideways into somebody's grass yard. Anyway, so we did that a lot. And then when I was 3, a little bit before I was 3, my dad put a motor on it, put some brakes on it, signed some kind of release for me to race the 5-year-old class in go-karts. And that was it. I started racing everything you can think of. I think when I was 4, I won the little 5-year-old championship or whatever that means. I won a lot of go-kart races. And then I started in BMX. Loved BMX. I had my own club called the Rim Benders. We made our own films with Super 8. I was smart enough to lay under a sheet of glass because I thought it'd be cool to film people jumping over me until they landed on it. And luckily, I didn't get cut to smithereens when it broke around me.
Real glass?
Real glass.
Not plexiglass.
They didn't have plexiglass,
They didn't have plexiglass
back then.
then. Yeah.
Everything was dangerous.
Yeah. I didn't. Whether they put that mercurochrome on you, they didn't. Whatever that stuff is, acetone. I don't know what it was. Anyway. But I got to tell this story because it's really cool. So I'm fast forwarding through the elementary school, and but it was all racing BMX, and my dad had some. They're called wire cars, and they had gas motors. They were like an RC car, but it ran on a wire, and you ran in a circle, and it had a little bearing in the middle, and they would go like 200 to 300 miles an hour, but they just go around in a circle, and so we'd race those, and that's when I started getting into the aerodynamic thing when I was a kid. So when we moved to Baldwin Park at the end of our street, because it was a new street, there was a giant field. And I was like, oh, my God. So I went out there. They had an old tractor. We drove that. We dug holes. We built an entire BMX motocross track out there. And next to the motocross track, there was a a convalescent home or an old folks home. I don't know what you call those things, where the old people live and their families,
Sure.
the family
Yeah,
gave up on them.
you can
And
call it whatever you want.
yeah, so there was this guy, this old dude named Walter, and he used to come out every day, and I just dug him. He was just such a cool guy, you know. And I grew up in a very well, we'll just say child abuse was not a public service announcement back then. And so Walter was super cool to me. And so he kind of became my fill-in third grandparent. You know what I mean?
Yep.
My grandparents were awesome, but I just loved him so much. Anyway, so he used to sneak the hose under the fence so he could water our track, and he'd get in all kinds of trouble. So then we dug a hole, and we put a hose in. Anyway, long story short, Christmas came. We raised some money. We did a bunch of stuff for him, and he ended up dying like 2 days later. And so I think that's where I actually got my favorite thing in the world is giving. And I think that's right where I got it, because it was so impactful that when I went back, the nurses said, it's hard to even talk about the story without crying, but the nurses said that it was the happiest. He's been there for 3 years, and it's the happiest they've ever seen him.
Yeah.
Was that day. You know what I mean? Anyway, so we'll keep going along to get to skateboarding. So I go in high school, and I start when I was probably, I'm going to say 12 years old, maybe younger. I started racing water skis. My dad had drag boats, and I like to ski. So somehow when you start skiing behind a drag boat and you have a dad like mine, they only know the vertical pedal. And so, you know, going 90 miles an hour on a water ski, and a real 90, not the jet boat version of 90, is my dad didn't think anything of it. And then my dad also couldn't swim. So when I would knock myself out, he'd have to like position the boat to grab me and pull me over. We used to go race jet boats. My dad would go to the bar, and I'd be hanging out, and he'd go up to guys with big jet boats with the big motors, and he'd go, "Hey, is this thing pretty fast?" And I'd go, "Yeah." He goes, "I bet you $100 I can beat you towing my kid." And they're like,
where this is going.
"Yeah, what do you mean towing your kid?" And they'd point at me, and I'm this tiny kid, right? And he goes, $100 and you're going to tow that kid. And I'm like, and I knew, you know, I knew the whole shtick. And so, oh my God, it was so badass to take off. We had to get me up on top of the water, and then we'd go. And my dad always let people go first because he didn't want people to tell me, you know, you cheated. And I just remember at like 11 years old going past these race boats on a water ski and just thinking, I think that's probably where I learned the beat the person and humiliate him lesson. And for some reason that it was fun. So I was racing water skis. My dad's best friends were the Youngers. Steve Younger and Sally Younger were the two world record holders for women and men skiers. And Gil Younger would be down there with Dave Zalibra. They had a house at the river, and they used to practice there all the time, and they were just unbeatable. So me growing up around those guys, you know, I had to go fast. I mean, they're just not going to let me not go fast. And they gave me a ski and all that stuff. But then in high school, there was a kid in high school that he was riding a skateboard. And I started riding skateboards at 7 when this family that's a friend of mine, also in the River House, the daughter got a Black Knight oak board. And she goes, "I'm never going to ride this. Do you want this?" And I go, "Okay." And so I remember sitting down on it on their little hill because I didn't know what to do. And so I learned on that. And so I could ride a skateboard, but then this kid started telling me, "Oh yeah, we're going to start racing skateboards." They did this thing down by the beach. And I think 74 was the first year, right, of Signal Hill?
Signal Hill. Probably was
when it was just Guy Grundy and
Gary Hitchcock.
Garrison Hitchcock on his knees, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So anyway, I said, well, that's pretty cool. I could probably do it because I skateboard and I race water skis. So I'm the perfect candidate. So we went up to Kellogg Hill. I think it's West Covina or whatever it is out there by Cal Poly Pomona. And there's a hill right off to the side of it. It's still there. And he goes, "This is the hill I practice on." "Oh, okay, let me try it." Nothing, man. No gloves, no helmet, no nothing, right? I probably had shorts on. I don't know. So I take off on this hill, get this crazy death wobble was I going 12? I don't know what I was going. I try to run it out. It's impossible.
Superman.
Oh yeah. And broke my arm. And so so I was thoroughly convinced 100% that I crashed because that board was a piece of shit, not because I couldn't ride.
Sure, it's always the
Oh
equipment.
yeah, never me.
Of course.
Never. So there was another challenge. Now I'm gonna prove that I can be the best at whatever this is, and that's when it started.
So downhill number 1, broken arm.
Broken arm.
First time on a hill.
Yep. if you go from there till now, I broke 61 bones.
That's either motivation or enough to keep you off that hill. So it looks like you leaned into being motivated to conquer it.
Yeah, pain was
Yeah.
never a motivator. Is that a word? Motivator?
Anti-motivator,
is.
detractor.
It was never a motivational reason to quit.
Yeah,
Pain was never that.
Sure.
All my injuries were just annoying because I was missing.
kept you off the board.
That's all.
That's what it does.
Yeah, that's all. I don't know how many broken ankles and oh my God.
As we all do, have injuries. And, I was talking to someone not too long ago about, oh, well, you hurt yourself pretty bad. Are you just going to quit skateboarding or whatever? And I'm like, you don't understand. Skateboarders don't do that. We get up and we keep doing it until we either finish the run or make the trick or whatever. And we're just used to different levels of pain.
You also don't really quit. I mean, skateboarders don't ever really quit. You may stop, you may slow down a little bit, you may skate a little less than you used to, but unless you're the kid that was just into the fad, you don't ever really stop. To at least some sort of capacity. So
I think if it's in your nature, you don't quit. If
Yeah.
it's your costume, you'll quit.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good way of putting it.
Yeah, but I mean, that's all the way across the board.
Yeah.
Nobody won a championship quitting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what I used to do, my strategies were going forward and back and forward and back. But my strategy was always like, if they met Hickey, then they met the narcissistic alter ego that wants to just absolutely mess with their mind. So they quit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? DeBow knows one of my tricks was only win by just enough.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to go change anything. They're going to think I'm almost beating him. So I would only win by just enough because I didn't want them to change. That's how I would control them.
So this pissing off your opponents, that leads into your original nickname,
Yep.
which was?
The kid with no respect. But what's funny is when
No, pause. The kid with no respect.
when Dave came up with that,
Dave.
Morin,
Okay.
yeah,
David
D.
Moore?
David Morin, when he came up with that, we were sitting in there doing an interview. This is a good segue. So we all raced. We kind of Signal Hill. I didn't race stand up. I didn't feel like I was good enough, and I didn't want to die on that hill.
Sure.
So, and I was only 18.
Yeah.
So I saw Sam Puggio lay down on some 2x4s, and I'm like, well, I could do that. And I wasn't afraid of speed, so I made up my own luge board. It was awesome. I was the youngest one, and then I came back with a skate car. But so when we started riding Glendora Mountain Road, I kind of discovered the hill and made a bunch. I mean, we made so much technology that came from Glendora Mountain Road, and then when we had the Fogtown South, which Bo came up with, it was Bo and Rick and me and Perry and Don Beaumay, and there was a few people I can't remember. And so we just wanted to start racing races. So we raced Capitola. We did okay. I think I got fifth my first time at Capitola. And these were the pros, that you saw.
What are you riding at this point?
I'm riding a Madrid board.
So you're already on. Yeah, that's a good,
that's-
interesting segue. We kind of when did that start? Because you're already on a Madrid board at this point, right? Now this.
Right.
I'm
this
trying to
isn't
figure out
the
how I
Roger
got on
Hickey-
Madrid.
Yeah.
Well, that was a question.
Yeah.
Is where did you first meet Jerry? Was it?
Well, they didn't have 23 and me, so I knew he wasn't my dad. Even though for my whole life I told everybody, Jerry's like my dad until about 2 years ago. He goes, I'm only 6 years older than you. I'm like, yeah, that probably is a good point.
Yeah. So really pre-pro model. I mean, when you're starting out, what are you riding? Pre-Madrid, what are you on these hills?
Oh, okay. So pre-Madrid. So they had GT was a plastic board. And I learned that if I put this board in the oven, I could shape it however I want, cool it down.
Is that right?
So I literally made a center hump in it because it made me more comfortable. And I made the concave nose just a little. Like I used to bend the shit out of those things, and I'd get cases of them. So I rode up with Bennett's, which couldn't have a more wobbly truck on the planet. And it was Bones. Yep. And
Sure.
Bones wheels. Stacy said, whatever you want.
Nice.
My first real sponsor was Tom Sims.
Okay.
Gave me a Sims jersey and $100. And I'm like, oh my God, I haven't even
you
raced
made
it.
it. You've
I
made
haven't
it.
even raced it.
Yeah.
I didn't make it in any of the posters, with all the Sims people. But that's all right.
But you got the jersey.
I still got the jersey. I still have the original jersey. And and now I can actually still fit in it. But how I don't know how I got to Madrid.
That's
I have
crazy.
no
We're
clue.
gonna have to get Jerry in here. And
Yeah, we'll have to do we'll cut an interlude.
You
We'll-
knew
we'll
him
follow
before
back
me,
up with
right?
Jerry.
yeah.
So that's a question,
Yeah.
Bo. So there comes a time, right, when you're a team manager for Madrid.
Yeah.
Now, where does that fall with Roger?
Well,
From a timeline perspective, is he already involved when you're
oh
kind
my
of
God,
team
yeah,
manager?
yeah. I mean,
so-
Roger and I first met. I think it was at Black Hill, La Costa,
It was,
which was this.
and I was riding that fiberglass board that Don made me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the blue and yellow one.
Oh okay.
That was before a Madrid board
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. All handmade boards
Handmade.
by Don Beaumay.
with a big rocker in it.
But yeah, we met at Signal Hill or at La
Black
Costa.
Hill. Yeah, at
And-
Box actually.
And then I think we just bonded.
Yeah.
I may have introduced you to Jerry, but I really don't. I don't.
I would
remember
say
when
if it was anybody, it would have been Bo that introduced me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then I look back now and I laugh because my analogy would be this: it would be like telling everybody our whole life, Jerry gave us free food
Yeah.
all the time. He just fed us all the time. What they didn't know is we were working the catering trucks
Yeah.
that Jerry owned.
Yeah.
So that's how we had free food. I did all the artwork. I made all the silk screens. Perry was out there sanding. Bo's routing. We're
Yep.
we're all working for Jerry.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until recently that I was talking to Perry that we even remember all that because we
Yeah.
just wanted to be with Jerry.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, he was.
Yeah, I think
We
that's-
won't even get into the skateboarding Hall of Fame thing and how he didn't go in the first day, but
Yeah.
that's just a
He'll
pet
get
peeve
there.
of mine.
So do you
He will
recall
get there.
when when you were the first pro model on Madrid? Is that correct?
Yeah.
The Roger Hickey was the
Yeah,
first.
yeah.
So when and how did that come about? You
I think
recall?
it came about because of Capitola.
Okay.
Because we went to Capitola with flat boards, remember? And they were like really flexing in the middle of turns.
sure.
God, yeah.
And they would change the geometry of the truck.
Yeah.
So in the turn, in our brain, we thought, oh, it adds steering in the turn,
Yeah.
and it takes steering out down the straightaway, which I guess is okay until you hit a bump.
Yeah.
And and so I think what'd you get? You got like 8th, right? I mean, we all did good.
7th or
Yeah.
8th,
7th
yeah.
or 8th, yeah. I mean, we qualified good. We did good. It also was I'm goofy foot, and it was a left-hand turn, so it was really good for me.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And that's where I met Kurt Kimball, which that's a legendary boxing match. Every time we raced each other, we were literally there's pictures in one of the magazines of us punching each other in the middle of the turn. I mean, it was I don't even know why we hated each other, but it just was what it was. And so then we came out with the pro model, and so we figured out, well, what's a pro model going to be? And so Jerry had a bunch of boards, long boards, and he
Yeah.
was starting to dabble with long boards being like 36-inch concave boards. And so he would just give us a blank and we could just cut out whatever we want. I kind of
Right.
just drew something out and cut it out, and I liked it, but then I wanted more concave. And so Jerry just made it, and we called it the taco shell. It was like 7 degrees or
Yeah.
something crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
You were one of the few people that could ride it
Yeah.
because the concave was so deep that it hurt your arches.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it worked
was,
for you.
It was
And why
great.
did that work for you? What about that shape?
So because I rode Glendora Mountain Road all the time, the biggest problem we had, you got to remember the rules back then said nothing could touch the board or the ground but your feet.
Yeah.
So you couldn't grab your board like they do now.
Yeah.
You know, we were Formula One, and now they're drifting.
Yeah.
They're both forms of racing, and probably
Sure.
drifting's a lot more entertaining.
Yeah.
When drifters crash, I don't know if there's as much carnage as a Formula One car at 185 miles an hour into a
Yeah,
wall. You know,
right.
and that's how we were. Like when we crashed, it was a yard sale.
Sure.
But I think because of Glendora Mountain Road, I could literally feel my heel and my toe to get through a corner without leaning so hard that it unweighted the outside wheel and you spun out or crashed.
So it was more of a board feel issue at having that extreme
and keeping the
concave.
weight
Yeah.
on the outside rear wheel.
Yeah.
So it was more of a leverage over the truck deal. So you could still have them tight, but that concave would handle it. But we sold a lot of boards, but I don't know how many people rode them because they couldn't.
I feel like the term taco shell too is a really missed opportunity for a board graphic. To
Oh,
work,
yeah.
to work
Oh,
a cool
yeah,
taco
yeah.
into that thing.
Yeah.
Just bring that back.
So those were cut out of the 36-inch
Yep.
longboard, which you guys still have that
Yeah, we
board,
do.
right?
In fact, there's an original hanging in Craig's office, and I think we actually even still offer it. We still make that board. Yeah.
So listeners, you can buy one of those boards and cut out your Roger Hickey shape from it.
So
Yeah.
I only had 2 boards. We named the. So then I started winning. I went back with the taco shell, back to Capitola. Excuse me. We raced Capitola, then Laguna Seca. So that year, Capitola I got 5th, Laguna Seca I got 3rd, and this is where I discovered, the King John Hudson, because he just waxes everybody, and every time he walks by, people are like, "Oh my God, there's John Hudson, John Hudson." So we're realizing now, well, if John Hudson's not there, then it's not a race, right? Now we're coming back to the Kid with No Respect. So Action Now just started, magazine just started, and so I think because we would go down to Box and Canyon and would Casmus, and we'd shoot all kinds of stuff, content for him, and I came up with the speed suit at Capitola and then Laguna Seca. And I laugh when you watch people today, like you'll see a guy I just saw a video of a guy going down a hill in a flannel, long sleeve flannel, flapping behind him. Everybody forgets now with the 180 degree GoPro, an ant looks like he's running. Yeah. And so he's hauling ass, I guess, and he crashes and goes through the guardrail and catches it with his leg. Yeah. And I'm like, yep, there you go. And, but our speed suits were literally just spandex, unlined bikinis, naked, with a bucket on my head, the flyaway helmets. Yeah. And I used golf gloves or batting gloves. Yeah. And then I would duct tape my shoelaces. So people go, "What's it like to crash in that thing?" And I go, just wear pantyhose and jump out of your car on the freeway. That's not what it feels like. And it just burns to you, Yeah. So anyway, taco shell, practice our asses off. We had the underground URA. We started URA because Underground Racers Association, because after 78, except for up north, downhill kind of started to die. And
so that was to interject there. You're talking mid into late 70s, right? What's the fanfare of a typical race? What you would call the height of downhill racing at that time. I mean, how underground did this still feel, or how mainstream was you guys getting a lot of coverage and people coming to these events? I mean, what was that like compared to, as things started to kind of dip, as everything in the industry does? I mean, what are we looking at the height of these downhill races from a outsider perspective, from a spectator, as a spectator kind of event?
So 77 was insane at Signal Hill. We showed up and we're like, "Are you kidding me?"
How many people are you looking at there?
Thousands. Yeah. And then 78. Wow. I'm not good, but in my mind, I remember 20,000 people all over that
probably
hill.
About 20,000.
I mean? And I remember
it's crazy to picture.
I remember CBS Sports Spectacular. They were there, and at Akron, Ohio, we went to Derby Downs, and then Signal Hill just became a bloodfest. I mean, it was gnarly. Yeah, that was a funny story. That was the first time I ever cussed in front of my dad, and I was out on my own right before my 15th birthday. Yeah, the whole family dynamic kind of changed, and. But I remember I built a skate car, and it was so tight. You had to wear shoes. That was one of the rules. And I couldn't fit with my shoes because I got enormous feet. And so we took my shoes off, and they would sit on the front and lock me in, bolt me in. And then the roll cage made it so I couldn't really lean steer. So I was just duct taped to this thing that they sent off a cliff. It was Niagara Falls in the barrel without the water. Yeah. And so I went down, bounced off a couple curbs, and full Mario Kart, and then the thing flipped upside down, and I'm sliding down, and I remember laying in there just making up my own cuss words because I ran out. Yeah. And my dad undoes it, flips me over, and I'm like, "That son of a god, so fucking boy." You know what I mean? Yeah. And he just looks at me and laughs, and all of a sudden I looked at him and I'm like, "Oh shit, I actually never cussed in front of my dad before." You know what I mean? But then I was free to cuss from then on, and so we cut the roll cage off. But 78 was insane. As far as the coverage, it was in every magazine. It was, I mean, quite frankly, I would put it all not on John Hudson. He had a huge part, but I would put it all on Guy Grundy. I mean, without that iconic Guy Grundy, parallel, hands forward, literally the icon of where downhill started. No matter what they did in Catalina or anything else, it was just
agreed
badass. And so then after 78's Bloodbath, nobody wanted to do it. You know what I mean? And so they had, they did still have Capitola, and they still had Laguna Seca.
Yeah.
But that was up north, and those were heavily covered. I mean, obviously, how the hell did I get on the cover of Thrasher? You know what I mean? And right. According to skateboarders, we're just people in the band. We're not skateboarders, and because I can't kick flip at 65 miles an hour, and so
have you tried?
It looked like I tried, but it was actually me falling.
I've seen them crash, and it looked like
I've done a triple kickflip at like 60, and a
Hickey
triple
tray
kickflip,
flip,
nollie, something grab,
big spin.
ball grab, and so I just decided let's start it down here at Glendora. So our gang, we started the Underground Race Association, and basically what we did is, and the cops didn't care. Like,
no, at that point
it was
they didn't
awesome.
care.
We would literally get 20 to 40 people. We would silkscreen our own trophies. I designed trade show exhibits, so I knew how to do all this crazy stuff. And we'd hitchhike up the road, or we'd have a bunch of people with trucks show up. But it was crazy because that hill is almost 10 miles long, and we would do 5 runs in stand-up and 10 runs in luge. And you would add your points together. So first place, like motocross, first place is a 1 point, 10th place is 10 points, and the lowest number of points. But stand-up it was always down to Bo and I. And literally, if Bo beat me, it's because he crashed 6 times and I crashed 7. Because
and
Glendora
that only happened once.
Glendora Mountain Road, without touching the ground or the board with anything but your feet, is very difficult. And we're on gyros, which are basically cement with an aluminum hub.
Yeah,
like
98 with an aluminum hub.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're on
Probably
minus
60
technology.
millimeter.
Yeah. The Flintstones were not far behind us, and so. But
you're all racing pre-urethane wheels.
No.
So
This was urethane.
Yeah.
It was just very hard urethane,
Yeah.
and then you add an aluminum core to it.
It was probably like 98.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then aluminum core made it so that the resonant frequency from the ground would come through into the bearing, and just you could not have loose teeth.
Yeah.
I could tell you that.
Yeah.
And it was very good at sliding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like one of the slider wheels now,
Sure,
but
yeah.
not on purpose.
Yeah, not an intentional slider.
And we weren't on the Kryptonics program yet because we were South guys.
Yeah.
And they don't want to help us.
Sure.
Because all of a sudden, our gang showed up and we started getting in the top 5.
Yeah.
So then we go back to, I had a 5th at Capitola and I had a 3rd at Laguna Seca. So we go back in 1980 to Capitola and Laguna Seca. I get a 3rd and I win Laguna Seca, and I beat John Hudson. So I'm the first guy to beat him. Well, before that, for that whole year, D. David Morin is building me up in this Action Now magazine. I think I was literally in every issue, and I was probably on maybe 3 covers and I don't know how many centerfolds and stuff. And I just, all of a sudden, when the ego realized what was going on and calmed down and started thinking of the logistics of it, about 8 months in, I thought, shit, man, if I don't win this thing, I'm going to look like the biggest idiot on the planet. And you know what I mean? And so Perry Fisser and I went up. This is such a funny story. We went up 2 or 3 days early from the Laguna Seca happening. We camped out on the hill, and we rode the hill every day, all day. Accidentally lit some park benches on fire because we had no firewood, accidentally. And but I discovered a trick where the wind always came from the right to the left. And that hill, it's no slouch.
No.
Yeah, that corner comes up quick.
We were running turn 9 backwards.
Right.
Yeah.
From all the way from the corkscrew backwards. And so, and then as you turn it, you go down, and where the bridge thing is, that's where the finish is.
Right.
So, I found a trick where there's a window. The wind every single day came from the right to the left. Even though it was dirty, really dirty, I could get over next to the guardrail, and I would just blow past Perry. And I'm like, what the hell? I'm like hiding from the wind over here. Mm-hmm. And so I just saved it. I thought, I ain't telling this trick nobody.
Yeah.
So anyway, the race is going to start on Saturday, practice and qualifying on Saturday. I think that's how it worked, right?
Yeah.
And then the race was on Sunday?
Race was on Sunday.
So so everybody shows up on Saturday. Well, we show up late on purpose because we knew that practice was like this many runs. So we show up. I come running in, and everybody thought I was a squirrel anyway. Long hair, is crazy, skinny guy. Oh, my God, our car broke down. We're late, And, of course, the guys from up north are like, fuck you. I mean, they hated it. And so they're like, well, there's no more time for practice.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? And he goes, oh, we're already into the first run of qualifying. If you hurry, you can get one in. I'm like, oh, this sucks. So I go up. I qualify first. And so now they're going, oh, shit, what the hell just happened? And then so Hudson kind of scrambled for a speed suit. The only thing he could find was a wetsuit, so he put a wetsuit on.
It might be a little better than just a spandex suit, right? You got a little,
Oh my
little
God.
extra.
Well, you'll
little extra
bounce.
padding. Yeah.
And so
Stick.
the
and
grip
bounce.
might rip the bones apart.
Yeah.
So then they made up this rule: you got to have knee pads. So I just took a tube sock, cut the toe out, and I put it on my knee, and I said, "There's my knee pad."
It's made it look like a knee pad.
That's it. I had a knee pad. They didn't have a
enough.
specification of a knee pad. So anyway, long story short, I get all the way through all the rounds, and you could tell that Hudson was starting to. Well, you can see in the picture where he's starting to lose the Hudson cool, and so we get to the final. It's just Hudson and I, and I get lane choice because I'm first qualifier. You have to race twice back then, and in the right lane and the left lane. I go all the way over to the right, and he's looking at me like, "What the hell are you doing?" And so they had a little push box. What was it, 25 feet?
Probably.
Yeah, and you couldn't
20,
push
25
beyond the
feet.
push box. You couldn't crow hop it. You couldn't
Yeah.
hit that one last line. So as long as you're not touching that last line, you're good.
Yeah.
And we just pushed. We didn't ever test that because this much more of a
Yeah.
push didn't do anything. So we push. I'm so far right I can't even see the push box. So we push. We take off, and I'm just hanging over there. And I remember there was so many rocks and gravel and stuff, and I'm like, man, I hope this works. And I look over and I see John over there, and I'm inching ahead. You're not breathing because you're trying to hold this tug. And so I had to swing from the right to the left and then turn hard right. So I made that turn a 180 instead of only a 90. But I beat him. And I got to the finish line. I was like, holy crap, I just beat him. You know what I mean? And it was crazy.
Yeah.
Huh? I thought people were going to break my nose. They ran down and like tackling me and like, holy shit. And I honestly instantly felt bad for John Hudson.
Yeah.
Because literally this guy was like everything. And I
Yeah.
remember
He was
looking at
our
him
hero.
Yeah.
and it just caught him by surprise.
Yeah.
He just thought, no way in hell this knucklehead kid
Yeah.
is going to beat me.
Was he a good sport? Was he?
No.
Not
So
at all?
then we went back to the top
Yeah.
because we have to race again, right? So in my mind, I knew all I got to do is get in front of him, stand up and air brake and make him go around me because I just set the fastest run of the entire day over qualifying and everything. All I got to do is air brake in front of him, slow him down enough and let him go. Just let him win it because it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know, the fastest of the two runs wins. So it's exactly what I did. Now he had the right lane. He was scared to go over there by the guardrail or something because he'd never done it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he started normal. I outpushed him. I had a really, really fast push, probably because I'm 6'4". And I outpush him. I get in front of him. I kind of open up a little and suck him in tight. And then right before the corner, I just stood up and air braked. And he's like, hey! And he goes around me. And then I don't know what happened. He kind of broke out of his tuck. And now I'm catching him again. I'm like, well, what do I do? Do I beat him again? Or do
Yeah.
I just go to the finish? Screw it. Beat him again. So I went around the outside and I beat him again. But that wasn't my plan, to
Right.
beat him again. I just
Yeah.
beat him again. And then that was it. That literally pretty much defined how serious I was going to be about downhill from then on. Our next encounter, they labeled Rocky 2, Hudson versus Hickey. I was screwing around and broke my ankle, and John ended up, we taped it up, and he ended up beating me. But
That was at Laguna Seca again.
no.
Where was that?
At Capitola.
Capitola.
Yep.
Okay.
The next year. And then it just died. And then it was all up to us. So that's when we started Agro, American Gravity Racing Organization, and we turned URA into that. And we started having like somewhat legal races where we could get a permit and stuff like that. And then we had a lot of people.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it was 40 to 80 people racing all at the same time. It was crazy because we'd just line up and we'd hold wrists.
Yeah.
Like a pace start.
Yeah.
And we'd go to a line and then that was it.
That's it.
Oh yeah, they were in desert racing they call them bomb starts, but they're called what are they called? Oh, I can't remember. It's like the cavalry when they go across the
Yeah,
desert.
yeah.
Yeah. Land start. You know,
Right,
land
yeah,
race.
yeah.
Yeah. Land rush. That's what it was like. So anyway, we started picking it up there. Then we started picking up other places. And
Do
eventually,
you have sponsors at this point, or anybody
I did.
kicking in to kind
Yeah,
of
yeah,
sponsor
I
these
did.
events and stuff?
Definitely Madrid.
But
by that point.
Madrid,
we were on Madrid.
Hyper.
Hyper.
Hyper Wheels came out of Kryptonics, so they would back us. Tom Peterson helped us so much, and Neil Piper, which is nobody knows urethane like him.
So when things kind of go to this underground point, I mean, is the motivation for everyone involved just to race?
Yeah.
It's just they just want to keep riding, right?
Right.
So it's
Yeah.
not as though, I'm going to win and I'm going to take this big cash prize and a trophy. They just want to
Cash
race, right?
prize.
They just want to keep it alive.
That's it.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
And we got people from
everywhere.
Yeah, literally all over the world.
Yeah.
We'd get guys.
They would
from
stay at our
France
house,
or,
you know.
or England.
So
Simon,
it's
yeah.
not terribly different from in the 80s when everything went underground again. You had all these backyard contests and
Right,
people just
right,
keeping
exactly.
it alive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just for the love.
And
of
we
racing
did
or
have
skating.
points championships, so we did keep track. That's why I was able to find out how many races I've raced, kinda, with plus or minus 5 maybe.
Yeah.
And because literally we would race Glendora Mountain Road, twice a month?
Yeah.
You know, and we practiced in between. So we would have championships and then evolved into figure, which is Federation of International Gravity Racing, because I saw that everything that was legit was Federation of, you know what I mean? So we started, like the FIA, the FIM. So we started figure, and now we introduced downhill bicycles, gravity cars, street luge. We had live bands. We had,
Yeah,
how many
they were-
tracks did we have? Like 6 or 7?
Yeah. Yeah.
So at this
Not
time, you've got
GMR.
Madrid as a sponsor. You've
Right.
got a Madrid board.
Oh, the whole time.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I named that board Lucille
Okay.
when I won Laguna Seca, like BB King's guitar,
Sure.
and I never rode another board since.
Yeah.
So there was never a final round.
Stand-up board.
My stand-up board, yeah.
Yeah.
I love stand-up way more than street luge. Street luge was just easier for me.
So is there a developing Madrid team at this point?
We kind of were the Madrid team the whole time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was the downhill team was Roger, Rick Denton, Perry Fisser, Dave Perry, me. Was Don on the
Yep.
team at that
Yep.
point? And
Yep.
Kevin Carnes.
Yep.
It's a pretty big, pretty decent little team. I mean,
Enough,
you got a
enough to
handful.
fit us and Jerry in his van.
Yeah.
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 And did any of these guys have a pro model at that time, or
Just me.
just you?
I think the
Yeah.
next pro model downhill was Hudson. I think Santa Cruz put out one for him.
I don't remember if they did a
I
downhill.
had the only
He had
signature
slalom
downhill board
Only
for
signature
a
model.
long time.
Yep.
They had slalom boards. A lot
Mm-hmm.
of people had slalom boards.
Yeah, Hutt had a slalom board.
Turner. Oh no, he had the Santa Cruz.
Santa
And what
Cruz.
what signified the difference in a slalom board and a downhill board from a technical standpoint back
Super short,
Mm-hmm.
high degree trucks.
Mm-hmm.
The Turner boards were crazy flex, and
Fiberglass and
if
foam.
if you didn't ride it, it would throw you.
then? Yeah.
You know, it was a racehorse. You know, you had to be committed to that. The slalom boards are pretty badass, but they're only for slalom.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can't.
You can't do crap on them.
And
Nothing.
What was the point, or where was the point, or was there a point when you all started keeping track of the speeds you were hitting?
Well, we had radar guns
From
when radar guns were
from the
invented.
get-go?
and
Yeah.
then Don would make timers. Don's like
Don
this
Beaumet.
electronic genius guy. He'd make us timers, and they had a strip switch, right? Well, when you're riding like gyros on trackers that aren't big on these little boards, and you hit these strip switches,
Yeah.
it's like hitting a crack in the asphalt.
Yeah.
Where all of a sudden the front wheel says, "I'll go straight." The back
Yeah.
wheel says, "I'm going to kick out about a foot if you're okay with that."
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was tracking your speed. So
To
it's the-
down to the thousand.
is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
So-
we were tracking speed all the way back in 78
78.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the high
probably.
point back then?
speed.
What was the speed record?
I think I had like 52, but Hudson had the world record at 54.
Is that right?
Yeah.
54.
Yeah.
I remember at Black Hill, I know the fastest I've ever been,
Well, Black Hill was crazy.
and I also know the fastest I've ever fallen because I hit that strip switch.
Oh yeah, down
and it
around the
just
corner.
pitched me. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, at Black Hill, I did a street luge run at 74.9. Remember on the
Yep.
heavyweight? I thought my brain was going to explode.
Yeah.
Then you fast forward 40 years and I go 100.
Yeah, that was going to be a good transition. Is when did you hit that triple digits?
Yeah, it's 2016. I was 58 and a half years old.
Is that right?
So I was retired for
2016, 100 miles per hour.
Yep. So I was retired for 17 years. In 99, I just said I'm done. So I was
99, you were about 20 at that point?
Yeah, yeah,
Roughly,
almost.
Give or take?
Yeah,
Almost 21.
yeah. So was the gravity games we raced, was that 2000 or 1999?
I think it was 2000.
Okay,
I
so
think
that was my last race after that broken knee. So anyway, I was done. So I got tired of the new generations talking crap about all of us from the old days and getting it completely wrong. I think one day I just read some douchebag saying, "Oh well, those guys from, back in the day, they didn't even go fast. And, they only had like 2 or 3 guys and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. I'm like,
Which is kind of why we're here to share.
I was going to say,
what was
listeners,
really
that's why the
happening back
Madrid broadcast is going today. Trying to set the record straight.
so I decided that's it. I'm going to get in shape, right? So I don't know what happened. So I lost a bunch of weight. I got in shape. I'm gonna break out Lucille and my Genesis. The Genesis was the luge board I retired. That I built in 1989, and no one ever touched that board. It was always 10 miles an hour faster than everybody. And so my wife was like wondering what I was doing, and she's coming around, and I go, it was rotting outside. I really want to fix it up. So I had called whoever you call to race this world championship downhill thing they were going to have in Quebec, Canada, on this hill where I guess somebody went 92 there. And so I call them, what would it take to race this race? Oh, well, you got to either be former world champion or you got to be points. I forget what the conversation was. And I said, okay, well, I got one of those covered. Can I race it? And they're like, well, we got to make sure you can ride. And I go, all right. And what's your name? I said, Roger Hickey. Yeah. I don't know. Let me get back to you. I'm like, okay, no clue. And so he gets back to me like a month later, so he was heavy at the investigation part of it. I think actually I had to call him back. I don't know. Anyway, he said, okay, you can race it. So I said, what about Perry Fisser too? Okay, you guys can race it. So now I step up my process. So I go to Neil and I go, look, I want to get my own 5-inch wheel.
Neil Piper.
Neil Piper from And Industries. He goes, all right. I go, I'll pay for the mold. So I paid for the mold. We designed it. Neil gave me some top secret, only in the safe juice. We put And Industries on the wheel and Hickey Speed on the wheel. I have my own trucks that I made a long time ago that are billet aluminum live axle trucks. I'm riding Genesis and Lucille, my 2 boards that I made. And I'm wearing my own helmet that I made. So I decided I'm going to get some new leathers. Now, Esther, my wife's like, oh, geez, what's going on here? So
You just can't finish the Halloween costume. You're just getting prepped for a costume
So I had
party.
to tell her.
Yeah.
Well, then it wasn't very long after I told her that we found out that she got breast cancer. So that I was like, okay, well, I can't do this. You know what I mean? Because her surgery was going to be like in October or something like that. And the race was it in October? Probably the same month. And, or maybe September. And, so I kind of just slowed it all down. And, I mean, that was a lot more real world than what I'm trying to do as an old man. So her and I just had a conversation one time, and she says, I don't want you to do stand-up, because you're 58 and a half years old, and so I said, all right, well, I won't do stand-up, but I'll do street luge. She goes, all right, but just don't get hurt. And that's because she had seen me do street luge in a couple filmings where they brought me out of retirement to race some world champ, and then I waxed him at Glendora Mountain Road, and she's like, oh, my God, that's the most violent thing I've ever seen in my life, because I'm going through the dirt. I'm trying to humiliate him. I'm going through the dirt. I'm doing all kinds of stuff. Anyway, so she knew I could handle street luge. So I finished the board. She said, look, go do that. Don't die. Come back. We get my surgery. We move forward, right? Okay. So I go up there. I get out of the van, and we rented a van. We always did things the right way. Like we didn't stay in youth hostels and stuff. It's just not my thing, man. I've never done a drug, so I don't smoke pot. I'm not a hippie. You know what I mean? I mean, that's all cool. Maybe I wish I was that, because they'd have a lot less mental issues.
I'm with you, man. I'm in the same boat. I get it.
But
yeah,
you're
I like
also
to
58 and a half. You don't
right, yeah.
You're not going to start now.
costume.
And
Yeah.
at the same time, it gets harder and harder the older you get to sleep on somebody's floor, and you're like,
man.
I'd stay in a hotel.
Once you go watch a race, like a NASCAR race in the VIP suite,
Yeah.
you don't sit in the seats no more.
Yeah.
You know?
As a former tour of a band, playing in punk bands and playing punk shows, sleeping in the van, sleeping on floors. I don't want to do it in my 40s.
Yeah.
I don't know how I did it 20 years ago.
Because it was cool.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's cool when you're 20. It's kind of sad.
We did that
It's
with
kind of
downhill.
sad when you're 40.
Yeah.
It kind of becomes a little bit
Yeah.
less cool.
So we
I get it.
did an Airbnb, whole 3-bedroom, 2-story condo. We got a Sprinter van, all this stuff, Built our boards. Like I said, I spent all this money. We go there.
This is you and Perry.
Perry and I and my brother. And so my brother was going to be half bouncer, half pit crew guy. And so practicing for this event, I go out and I did a new thing to the rear of the Genesis board for the rear truck. We go out to Pudding Stone. I take off. Perry's in my truck. I go a little ways and I stop and I get up. And he goes, "What's up?" I go, "It only goes 72." And he goes, "What?" I go, 72 feet. It won't turn. It just went straight. I put it in the truck. The next time I rode the board was in Quebec. So,
What?
yeah, that's it. I never practiced one run. So I was like, I don't know what I was thinking. My ego. There are times when you remember that you could do a front flip perfect dive, and then you get older and you try to do it and you belly flop.
Sure.
Yeah, so we get there. We show up to the top of the hill with the van. First, we're at the bottom of the hill and we're checking it out. And the Europeans, super cool. Americans wouldn't say a word to me for some stupid reason. So we go to the top. We didn't even know. There was no rider's meeting. The rider meeting was at the top, but nobody let us know at the bottom. But this hill was crazy. I mean, this 18% is, and then it goes into our 90-degree right-hand turn with a cement wall.
And you're 58 at this point. What would
Almost
you say? What would you
60,
say the
almost 59.
average
Yeah.
age of the other riders at this stage?
30.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we go up there. A bunch of people. I'm like, whoa, this is a lot bigger than I thought it was. Get out of the van. I don't take probably 10 steps out of the van. And this tall Hispanic guy, big guy, says, "Hey, Hickey, your old shit ain't going to fly here." I'm like, Jesus Christ, I've been gone 17 years. And I'm the old man with no respect.
Sure.
Like, what the hell happened here? So I was like, okay. So then they just kept talking shit. And then so walking back to the van, I told Ed, I go, just keep them talking shit. I go, because the more they talk shit, the younger I get. I go, because the only difference in me and them is at 58 and a half years old, it doesn't matter.
That's right.
You know,
Nothing to lose.
the more they talk shit, the more it matters, the younger I get. And
Yeah.
so they just continued to talk shit. So we go to take our first practice run. I'm going to light the world on fire. I go full tuck, never been down the hill. I probably got to maybe close to 90. This side angled wind comes across. I'm going to die. The board's all over the place. I don't even know how to stop the thing. It's vaporizing my shoes. Don Brown gave me a case of Etnies or S shoes.
Yeah.
First pair gone.
Yeah.
Right to my foot. And I go back up and I tell Perry and Ed, I said, okay, well, we're probably going to have to ease into this a little bit because that was not a good plan. And I was writing on Facebook the whole time saying, I think I went through a case of toilet paper on just the first run. Long story short, last run of the day, I go 100.3. Last run of the last day, I went 100.3. And it was, I put my feet down. It's on YouTube. But I put my feet down in the middle of the timer because, you can only dip 2 legs into the death pool so long before you can't get out.
Yeah.
And I was as deep into it as I've ever been in my entire life. And I just said, nope. And I put my feet down. And I thought, if that's not 100, I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
And I barely saved it. But no doubt in my mind, I was probably going 104, 105. Because when you drag your feet through 50 feet of a timing strip,
Sure.
how much am I killing?
Yeah.
Right.
On flat.
Yeah.
We're not even on the hill at that point. Anyway, regardless, Perry comes down. He goes 92. I instantly am so excited that Perry gets his 90-mile-an-hour club sticker. So they had 70, 80, 90, 100 stickers that you're in the club. And like Bonneville has their own clubs.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so excited for Perry that he went 92. And I did some stuff to help him in this and that. Told him to ride the yellow line, different tricks that I learned. So he gets to the top, and I'm running around trying to get Perry his 90 sticker, and I take a picture of them and stuff. I literally forgot to ask how fast I went.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm walking back up, and this guy, Doug Anderson, that set the gravity car world record, he comes up and he shakes my hand. He's one of the presidents or something of the World Gravity Racing Association, and shakes my hand and hands me a sticker, and I go, "What's that?" Because you went 100. I go, "No." I go, "Are you bullshitting?" I got goosebumps now. I had to go sit on the tailgate of his truck because I had tears.
Sure.
Like, are we allowed to cuss on this thing?
Yeah, go for
Okay,
it.
because I was like, fuck all those fucking internet trolls that fucking talk shit. Take that, tattoo that shit on your forehead and shut the fuck up. Okay.
No, tell us how you really feel.
Because I
Don't
was
hold back, man. Don't
That's
hold
right.
back.
I said this bitch is stamped in history. So screw that. I don't need to do this again. And and that was it. I was done. I called my friends. They were like crying. One of my best friends is Ricky Johnson, 7-time motocross champion. I called him. We're both crying on the phone.
Yeah.
Because it was like, that was a big, big deal.
Sure.
And it was basically just to say, don't disrespect the history.
Yeah.
Because we were the guys. I mean, I get you're doing your thing. But that was just like, I had so many people call me that didn't even like me and say, "Oh my God, thanks so much for the old guys."
Yeah.
It was one of the coolest things ever.
It's awesome.
But definitely one of the scary. I'll never do it again. Never.
Yeah.
Couple of questions, and I think I know the answers already.
7.
That was the answer.
All right, we're done. That's it. There we
Good
go.
night, folks. Who was your biggest rival? Was it Hut?
I wouldn't say I wouldn't look at Hudson as a rival because we looked up to him so much. You know what I
Right.
mean? It's hard to have the other guy in the corner of the ring, Golden Greek and Freddie Blassie,
Nice.
old school shit going on when it's the guy you want to be.
Right.
Usually you don't fight the guy that you really look up to.
Right.
So I wouldn't say Hudson. Hudson definitely was a rival because they were up north, we were down south. But I would say the first rival, I guess you can't say rival because it'd have to be equal speed. But the first turmoil was with a guy named Bob Perea, but that was only in street luge. He invented the sport somehow 8 years after I won championships. And so I'd say the first big time rival was Biker Sherlock,
Okay.
or I called him Mike because he hated it. And he came out of, he's good. I mean, he was really good. He came up and started racing our amateur races and he was winning and stuff. He was very loud. It was literally like a comic book thing where we were no drugs. He was all drugs. And like he had the pot leaves painted on his helmet. He owned Chalice bongs and some other bong company, something glass company. His dad was like somebody high up in NBC. He had a lot of money. It was crazy. Like it literally made Team Dregs against Madrid or Hickey Speed, whatever, the whole group. And it was literally like Racing Good and Evil. It was the craziest thing
really
ever.
was.
Yeah, it was. You couldn't make this kind of movie up
Right.
because people think it was too cheesy.
Yeah.
It was like thrashing the
Sure.
ramp locals versus
Yeah.
the daggers.
Totally was. You know.
Yeah.
Except
And they
in this
cheated
case, the
a
daggers weren't
lot.
Cool.
Yeah.
Biker made T-shirts that said Hickey, when in doubt, take him out, because that was how they figured out how to beat me.
Yeah.
And then we were doing figure the whole time for 15 years, and I got sick and tired of hearing people complain while I was spending all this money and time organizing races. So Perry said, well, I want to do one. So I helped him come up with Extreme Downhill International, EDI. He ran a few races, and then he sold it all to Biker. Well, now Biker has the organization.
Yeah.
So now Biker can do whatever he wants. And so then I was banned from the X Games and pretty much almost every race there was because I could beat him. So I came out with my own trucks. Those were banned. Everything was banned. It was kind of nutty. And then, it just got ugly and old and not fun anymore.
Right.
Was there a sense after that 103, 104, whatever your record was there an immediate sense of, okay, I'm done. Like I don't need to do this anymore.
I think I was at that place in 99
Yeah.
until the internet pissed me off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I thought,
So note to the wise: don't piss off Roger Hickey.
I have a lot of Mike V tendencies in me. And
Sure.
in fact, we have a video somewhere of Biker and 4 of his friends starting a fight with me at the bottom of one of the hills. And so I'm fighting him and 4 people. And so I get up and I'm walking away and I'm pulling hair out that they pulled out and my head's bleeding and they're talking crap again. And my buddy Dwight and I look at him and I go, should we do it again? He's like, yeah. So we turn around and we're going to go do it again. And they all took off. But I mean, I don't like cheating.
Yeah.
I think every rule has an elastic waistband. You know what I mean? You can stretch them here and there, but I don't believe in winning by cheating.
So if we got enough snide negative comments on, say, our podcast or our Instagram about you, maybe you'd come back out of retirement and go race again? If we got enough negative comments?
Maybe.
Okay.
I don't mind settling scores and I'm
Listeners,
still in
let's,
shape. Yeah. It's even better when so one of my goals, I told my wife this the other day and she's like, why? I want to ride Glendora Mountain Road on my 65th birthday. And so she's like, why would you ever want to do that? I go, because I can. I know I can. And I'm going to videotape it. In the video, so I should get AARP to sponsor me.
There
and
you
just
go.
make a commercial
Yeah.
of it. You know what I mean?
Maybe
hate
put
when-
together a new league that's, 65 and up.
Seizure World? Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
The Seizure World Championships.
Yeah.
I I hate when people say those were the good old days.
Right.
Because I'm hoping that, I believe there's a heaven. You know what I mean? I'm hoping that's my good old day. But I hope that people have good old days ahead of them.
Yeah.
And not just like, oh, when I played professional football 22 years ago.
I think you get stuck in the glory days, mindset is one of the most unhealthy things you can do. Really, the best part of your life should be today.
Yeah.
The best part of your life, the great old days or good old days, are more knowledge.
Yeah.
Because the more knowledge, you learn what not to do.
Yeah.
Well, that makes a better day. Because I know that doing a stand-up tuck on top of a van until it turns and I fall off the van and hit the asphalt, that probably wasn't a smart move, and I wouldn't do that now.
Yeah.
That wasn't
you
a
know
good
what
old day.
not to do.
Yeah, I know what
Yeah.
not to do.
As far as your most satisfying race, was it going 100?
No, beating Hudson,
Hudson?
by far.
That was the moment.
Yes, it was unbelievable. And then Hudson came out of retirement and started racing at Puddingstone.
Yep.
And he was good. Like all of a sudden he got good again. And so it was fun. You know what I mean? Because here we go again.
Yeah.
And
Was that always a friendly competition?
I think I always
Yeah.
liked Hudson a lot more than Hudson liked me, because
Yeah.
he'd trash on me pretty hard. But I mean, he is 5'4" with the arms of a 6-foot man.
Yeah.
So
It's a knuckle dragger.
Yeah.
We
So-
love you, John.
yeah. And but no, I mean, it was fun, man. I mean, that was back when you could just be a smart ass man and give other men shit and everybody knew it. It was like no big deal. There's no name you could call me that's going to piss me off. And so they were north, we were south. We just used to trash on each other all the time.
Yeah.
But we'd all party together after the races.
Yeah.
Rick Blackheart, always the famous party at Blackheart's house.
Yep. Tell us about France.
France was awesome. So out of the blue, now we're kind of, there was a lull, probably from, I'm just going to guess 86 to 92, right?
Right.
Where we just kind of were burned out. We started kind of getting out of shape. I was probably fat. You know what I mean? I got married in 90, and we were still doing it. Like I said, I think I beat John's world record in 90, something like that.
Yeah.
So I was still doing it, but it wasn't, we're still holding races and stuff, but it wasn't, we were just burned out. And then out of the blue, because we didn't have cell phones or anything, out of the blue, and internet was not happening, I get this phone call from this guy, funny talking French guy, and wants to know if we want to race this race that's put on by the IOC, International Olympic Committee, in France. And I'm thinking, there's no Olympics in 93? Like, what? And so
It's an off year, yeah.
yeah, and so we're just like, what? So we kind of just ignored it. I just thought it was stupid. So then, in fact, this is leading up to a great story of when my life changed. So at that point, I was still kind of a conceited asshole, and so
I'm
somehow,
not going to refute that, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm not
Let
going
the
to
record
refute
show
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
no refuting in this
no,
room.
I won't even
Good.
refute that. So then, I think my priorities were a lot different. So somehow, I don't know what all the logistics leading up to this. Somehow, we're now going to go, and it's Bo, myself, Paul Dunn, and some guy we don't know. And so we're going to go. And so we, being Americans, I had 15 bags made by Hyper filled with Vans tennis shoes and as many wheels as you could possibly fit, and trucks and everything you can think of. And we're going to sell them and make money, because that's just how Americans do things.
It's a capitalist nation.
It's
Way to be,
insane.
guys.
Yeah, yeah.
And no one was paying us, so
Right.
they would just give us product to sell.
Sure.
So then they're going to do the youth hostels. That's where everybody's going to stay. So I tell them, no, I'm the world champion. We don't stay in youth hostels. So you need to get us a condo.
Yeah.
So they get us a condo. And so then when we get there, we have so many bags of stuff. It's crazy, right? It's almost embarrassing. And we see this dude at the airport,
Masachevich.
that guy. So we see this guy walking, and he's got a pillowcase. And remember, that's when Russia disbanded, so it kind of broke up. And in its pillowcase, it looks like a Black Knight oak board. You know what I mean? It's kind of what it was, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much.
And I've been knocked out a lot more times, both, so I refer to him for memory.
Yeah.
And so he has, with a marker, there's a USSR or something on it, meaning Russia, that he's the team.
Yep.
So I remember clearly, I remember this leading up to changing my life. I remember clearly looking at Bo and going, and Paul Dunn and I didn't really know each other, but after that we became brothers. You know what I mean? He didn't really know me, but he knew the guy that liked to talk shit. And so I remember looking at Bo going, if that's our competition, man, we don't even need to practice. And I remember just being so
Right.
stupid cocky, right?
Yeah.
And it's not like any of us were tip top, ready to go.
Sure.
No,
And so, what was it, a 3-hour car ride?
probably.
We didn't take a bus like everybody else. We had a car.
Yeah, we landed in Lyon, and it was about a 3-hour.
It was in Charles de Gaulle?
We had to go from Charles de Gaulle to Lyon and then
I
drive
remember.
up.
I don't forget that. I mean, I
It
didn't
was in
remember
the
that part.
Pyrenees.
Yeah. So we get there, and all of a sudden the whole town's got Olympic flags and this and that, and giant where you eat, the cafeteria thing.
Cafeteria.
It would fit 4,000 people in a giant. We're like, oh shit, man. I think this is
legit.
real, man.
It's feeling a little bit.
I think we
more
should have
major than you
practiced.
thought.
Yeah. I'm like, this is the real deal. So we're starving. Been up all night flying. So they tell us, well, you can go eat there. So they're having breakfast. And so Paul informs us that he speaks French. So we go there to eat breakfast. And there's a bunch of people in there. But they all got like real uniforms. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? They're real countries. Mm-hmm. So thank God Roger brought 4 cases of Roger Hickey shirts with an American flag on it.
That's right.
And that became our uniform. Levi's and Roger Hickey shirts.
That's very American.
Oh,
right
yeah.
there.
I wish I still had one.
Yankee
man.
blue jeans,
Oh.
Levi's, and American flag
Yeah, we figured
shirts.
that's what it is,
There
right?
you go.
Yeah.
So we'll wear this on the opening ceremonies, right? And it's full blown opening ceremonies. So then we go to this big. Oh wait, go back to breakfast. So
Go back to breakfast.
So we get these pancakes, no butter, and so Paul, our interpreter, says something like, "We need beer" or something like I speak no French.
French word for butter.
Yeah, I know that
Listeners,
crepes.
whatever
right.
the French
Yeah,
word
I know
for butter
crepes
is.
are very, very thin pancakes, but that's about as far as I go with the French. Somehow they come back with warm beer, no butter.
Yeah, and it took like an hour
An
for
hour,
them to find a bar that was open
Yeah.
that would give them beer for us.
So the
Nice.
first headlines that we have
Excellent.
created
Friggin'
is
Americans.
American skateboarders arrive for the alternative Olympics and start their breakfast with warm beer.
Demand beer. Demand
Yes,
warm beer.
demand
yeah,
beer.
Yeah. Perfect. Perfect start.
Oh my God. And so I don't think that's when we met him. We met,
The other guy?
we met him like at dinner or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, no, not that guy, the Russian guy.
Oh.
Yeah, Anatoly.
Anatolia.
Yeah. So anyway, so now we got to go to some big meeting before we get where we're staying, and there was just a bunch of people, and they're giving interpreters to people, and and then they gave us a flag holder person, and they had like mountain bike, slalom, downhill, paragliding.
Paragliding.
They had like this is before
Spelunking.
X Games. The X Games actually came from this.
Yeah.
So anyway, and then we just started skating through town and everything else, and.
Right. Being Americans.
Yeah. I don't really remember when it all kicked off. Oh, there was that opening ceremony. We had that.
Right.
Yeah. And I remember we had that little tiny Spanish kid that carried the flag for us. And then when it was all done, remember I stole the flag.
Right.
I still have
Yep.
it.
You did?
Oh, yeah, I still have it. I thought I was going to get thrown in jail when we were on the plane. So then it rained, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, for days.
Yep.
And then we tried to practice in the rain.
Yep.
And then we went to go eat, and we met Anatoly.
Right.
I'm sure hope I'm doing his name right because I love that guy. Anyway, I remember he was eating all the desserts and stuff, and we were looking down at him, and he was starving to death.
Right.
And we're like, holy crap, look at this guy. And so we started giving him food because we probably only could go through the line a couple times because I was trying to figure out why were we giving him food.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Something like that. And then remember we started doing the no, hey, goodbye. You and I started throwing grapes at everybody.
Yep.
Like we were
Seeing
making
what we can
American
do.
history. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Seeing everything.
Being
we
the
could,
ugly American.
oh yeah, completely. And still trying to sell our stuff.
Yep.
And so then all of a sudden, Anatoly comes down, and I feel somebody standing over my left shoulder, and he pulls out his wallet, and he pulls out this piece of paper, and he unfolds it, and it was a centerfold that was in Skateboarder or Transworld.
No, it would have been skateboarder.
Yeah. The centerfold that you could see the grid lines from the ink worn out. And this thing's 12 years old. And I remember asking him, he goes, could you sign? And I'm like, whoa, how long have you had this? Oh, since it come out. It was then that whatever God is came down and punched me in the forehead and said, quit being an asshole. Because this is the guy that I said, really? That guy? That's our competitor?
Yeah.
From that moment till now, I've never been that guy again. Never, ever, ever. In fact, we decided we were going to train him.
Right.
Because, so remember I had 2 Lucille's? I gave him my other one. So I gave him my only backup board. Was it your speed suit?
Probably.
And then Paul's shoes. We literally outfitted this dude. I was taking him out in the rain and training him and stuff. Our goal was to get him through the first round of qualifying or whatever the hell it was.
Right.
And he did. And he was bawling. And he made me this I still have it. He got these little logs and hot glued them to this. A hot plate with hot glue doesn't work. And he hot glued to this plate and he made this hot plate. He just wanted to give us something. He gave us some rubles and stuff.
Right.
Like, dude, you don't have to give us anything. We let him move into our condo.
Is that right?
Yeah, because we kicked the other member out because he was selling our race wheels.
Yep.
So it's race day, the finals. I remember that I had a Walkman, which, was awesome. And I remember I came out of our little tents. Remember we had those little tents that
Yep.
we could hang out in?
Yep.
And I saved for qualifying and practice, I wore one thing, but I saved my aero helmet and my speed suit with my calf fairings and all the nitro. I saved it for the last day, right? And so I came out of this tent. But it was weird because they gave you like a minute to cross that line.
Yeah.
And if you didn't cross it, you were disqualified, right?
Really?
So I always went full blast. Like I never did anything easy, right? And so let's back it up. So we're in the cafeteria and all of a sudden Bo sitting across, I'll never forget this, sitting across from me. He looks up above my head and I'm like, what? And I turn around and there's this dude. How tall was that guy? 6'6"?
Probably, yeah. He was taller
In
than
a
you were.
Swiss outfit, right?
Swiss outfit.
Swiss outfit. He looked like Dolph Lundgren.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a twin of Dolph Lundgren.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Are you Roger Hickey?" I am not making this up. And I go, "Yeah." And he goes, "I trained for 3 years. I will beat you." And he walks away, and I look at Bo, and I'm like, "Jesus, we are in."
So he's literally Dolph Lundgren in, what is it, Rocky 3?
Literally,
Right,
I am
right.
not making
Yeah.
it up.
I
This
will
is it.
win, you will lose.
I will. That's what he
I
said.
would
I will
crush
win,
you.
and you will lose.
I think he says crush
And he walks.
you in
Oh
Rocky.
no! Did I blow it?
No, you're good.
Still good?
We'll cut that out, ladies and gentlemen. The magic of modern technology.
Dang
It's
it.
No problem. Just a little battery power, but we're fine.
Oh, okay.
Cut that. We'll cut that. Don't worry about that.
So anyway, back to racing. So now, oh my God, now I need to remember this guy's name because I've said his name 1,000 times since. then.
Drago, I believe, right?
Whatever.
Drago. I would have crushed.
Swiss guy.
So he's leading. Paul second. You're third.
Yep.
No, I'm leading. Yeah, I'm leading.
Swiss guy's second.
Swiss guy's second.
Paul's
third.
and
He's
I'm
fourth. The other guy's somewhere.
Swiss
So-
guy, if you happen to hear this, please let us know.
Oh no!
who
By the end
you
of this
are.
conversation, I'll have his
Swiss
name.
guy, okay.
Yeah. Swiss guy. Paging Swiss guy.
Paging Swiss guy.
Swiss guy to the courtesy desk. Anyway, so then the second run start, right? Paul and Bo throw down blistering
Yep.
runs.
It was good.
Yeah.
It was a good run.
And I remember clearly.
I had blisters.
I remember clearly now. We're going to backtrack. I was in first. The other guy on the team was in second. Swiss guy was third. Paul was fourth, and you were fifth on the first run.
Thanks
Man,
a
the
lot
first
for that.
now the
I
first
keep
part,
getting
yeah,
bumped
I was gonna
down.
say the first
Yeah.
memory you were like in third.
Uh-oh.
So
Hopefully I
by
don't
the time we remember this again, you're not even qualified.
he wasn't
You're
even
not
there.
Yeah,
I didn't get
you weren't
on
even
the
on
It was
the
a
trip,
giant.
man.
It was
Yeah.
a giant when he had hair cut out. Bo.
Yeah.
Anyway, so second run comes up. Well, Paul and Bo were taking it easy. Anyway, second run comes up. Paul and Bo throw it down. Right. I'm still in first. Paul's second. Bo's third. Swiss guy's fourth. And
Other guy.
other guy is fifth. So I come up. I'm the last guy. I come up to the line. It starts to rain. And I'm like, so
Not,
they're trying
not
to figure
little
out.
droplets.
No, it's pouring. It's done, right? So they're trying to figure out what
Let's
to
make
do.
you a little faster, right? Especially through those turns.
So they're trying to figure out what to do, right? So they say, all right, so we can either go back to the first run and count that, or we can count this run if you're okay with it, because I'm the only one that hasn't run. Well, why wouldn't it be okay? I'm still in first, right? And so I said, no, I'm cool with it. So other guy says, I'm not cool with it. Are you serious?
Not the Swiss guy.
Other
the other
guy.
guy that was on the U.S. team.
Yeah, because he was in second on the 1st round when they took it easy.
Yeah.
So he says, I'm not cool with it. So we don't know. Remember, he was selling wheels to the,
Right.
yeah. Anyway, so somehow, we don't know how, it went back to the first run, and that cost Bo and Paul, their medals, and then it was over. But I do remember one thing. I'm going down the hill, as tight a tuck as I can get. I get to the bottom, and at the bottom of the hill, it kind of went back uphill. Remember? And there was those two cops up there, and they were like, he was clapping. Yeah. And I remember thinking, are they clapping because I went really fast, or are they clapping because they're just clapping? Mm-hmm. And I remember that I was afraid to turn around to see what time I had.
Yeah.
Because when it's over, it's over. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But I remember turning around and seeing that I was in first, and I was very pleased. But anyway, so long story short, I ended up winning. Got the gold, and basically it was the first Olympic medal for skateboarding.
Yep.
Yep.
I don't know if it applies to downhill, but I can certainly speak from personal experience. I had a growth spurt really quickly. I was of average height, and then one morning I woke up and I just
Same with me.
skyrocketed, right?
Yeah.
And it was extremely detrimental to me as a skateboarder. Skating street and just kind of standing, and suddenly it's like all these kids I came up with, they could do stuff I couldn't even touch anymore, because when I hit the ground, it was like a tree falling over. So all the guys I knew coming up with it kind of stayed low gravity, had a huge advantage of skateboarding. Was that a factor in downhill and in racing? Do you think your height helped or hurt you?
So I think it was both. I learned early that, Hudson had his own tuck, and everybody copied Hudson. And it was kind of low, like a ball with your arms back, and just as low as you can
See
get.
a shorter guy? I mean,
Yeah.
right.
How tall is 5'7"?
Nah, probably, maybe
4'11"?
5'6", 5'7", yeah.
4'11"?
Yeah.
So here I am, 6'4". I got tall at 19 years old.
Mm-hmm.
When I graduated high school, I was only like 5'9".
Yeah.
And so from my knee down is half the height of Hudson.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I'm like, this low thing is not working for me.
Sure.
So I invented a new tuck, which they called the Hickey tuck, and it's basically a pole and a wing. And so
Yeah.
I retrained myself how to put my front leg behind my back leg behind my front leg, because I thought, okay,
Just slim up your
that's a
profile a bit,
30-inch
yeah.
long 4x4 that's
Yeah.
out in the wind. And so I just made it disappear,
Yeah.
and then I just made my body real flat.
Yeah.
And then once I mastered that to where I was comfortable, it was default, I never lost again.
Yeah.
I never lost a single race in like
You
20,
had to
20
basically
years.
find a way to make it to your advantage. Just with
That's
your
what I did.
physical
So what
build,
happened
yeah.
is the wind thought I weighed 130 pounds.
Yeah.
And I weighed 180 to 200.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it was like I added another gear or some more horsepower,
Yeah.
but the wind thought we were the same size.
Right.
So I definitely made it to my advantage.
Sure.
Now, when you're going through corners and stuff, it's a lot harder because centrifugal force, the weight
Absolutely,
goes out.
yeah.
But I definitely was one of the, except for Dolph Lundgren, I was one of the tallest guys ever.
Yeah.
You know.
You don't see, I mean, that's the thing. Again, the kids I came up with, the guys I came up with skating with, it's like, they started to be able to hit these stair sets that were like far and away anything I was attempting anymore once I shot up, because it's,
Yeah.
again, it's like you got a lot farther to fall, and when you hit that ground, you got a lot more impact. And shorter guys I knew were pulling off some way crazier stuff, because that's just that low center of gravity.
Well, look at
keeps you close
bodybuilders.
to the ground.
Look at bodybuilders. They're all small because how hard is it to build up a 9-inch long muscle instead of a 2-foot long
Yeah.
muscle?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the photo doesn't know the difference.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So post skateboards, right?
Yep.
What was the point? Again, was it the 100, 304 contest comeback when you're, when you kind of knew you were done? Was that a point when you said, I don't really need to do this. I got nothing else to prove. Got nowhere else to go.
I think that was 99.
Yeah.
I said it. What happened was it just, the whole biker thing just broke my spirit.
Yeah.
I was just, whatever mojo was left was gone.
Yeah.
And the France thing kind of was, because we were just organizing our own races, and then we kind of faded out. And then we came back in 90 after that and started having races again. Figured out a bunch of races and stuff like that. And I started a company. And then in 99, when that was done, I started a company called Fresh Park because I still wanted to be involved in. I love inventing, and so I invented a fold-up ramp. And it took me. I always laugh when people tell me they got an idea, and I said, "Okay, that's good," because it's not worth anything until you actually sell one. And it's an invention once you start actually making a living off of it.
Yeah.
And so then it took me about 4 years and maybe $500,000 to sell one. Still today, the core skateboarders say they're plastic pieces of shit, even though there's more steel in it than a bridge. And it's brutal. If it's not wood, it's not, skate light, then junk, whatever. I looked at it like I'm giving kids a way to play.
Sure.
And I'm creating skateboarders.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. And now Fresh Park's 21 years old and sold over 600,000 pieces in 78 countries.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Listeners, we have a special guest.
The dad
interlude.
just showed up.
Well, Jerry Madrid has joined us today here. So
Just came in to say hi, see how things are going.
He had to make sure I wasn't burning anything down.
or burning
Yeah.
bridges.
Yeah.
There's a lot. Yeah, burning all sorts of stuff on this thing.
That happened a long time ago. I got enough grinder stories for a whole podcast.
Yes, I think that's when I first met the whole team, not the grinder.
We should have named the team the Grinders.
That's great. Well, now it's a burger place too, I think, and the Grinders is a.
They
burger
had like
place,
two of
too.
them then, right?
I don't remember. I know
I
they
think
had
so.
the one on Coast Highway.
By the golf course.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know what it's like to run from the grinder to his trailer when they're on fire.
Yep.
And blow out both my quads. The Grinder. So that's where we met. That's so awesome because that was our place.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah,
It was fun.
there seemed to be some hazy memories on just how Roger came to be on Team Madrid. A little
Yeah,
bit.
not
Once
really.
I was on though, it was my life.
Yeah.
Literally.
It was good times.
Yeah.
Really good times.
If I had a tattoo, it'd probably be Madrid.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Well, we thought maybe Jerry might remember exactly.
I
how,
knew he would remember,
how
yeah.
it came to be. Now, what was the Grinder? Was that just a bar, local?
It was like a
watering
Denny's,
hole?
but
kind of
cooler.
a diner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the coast, right on the Coast Highway.
Cool.
It was awesome.
That's cool.
So Jerry used to drive us to all of our races
Mhm.
in the big band.
Yeah.
And Jerry would race along with us and normally would be as fast, if not faster, than most of us.
Yeah.
And we had a paramedic with us while we were racing,
Sure.
which came in handy quite a few times, like
Yeah.
Rodeo Gulch when I split my whole face open.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a bad one.
That was a really bad one.
His glasses, the hinge broke off and went into his.
Oh.
And even the glass, because they're Rain Band real glass,
Sure.
it went into behind my eyeball, and so they had to dig into it like a Western, digging the bullets out, and they taped paper clips around my head, my face, with numbers on it, so when they x-rayed it, they could find out where it was. Oh my God. It was like 4 hours of craziness.
It was a mess.
That sounds
It
horrible.
was bad.
That sounds horrible.
It was like 37 stitches.
Luckily, I missed him. Bo went down. He went down.
And Dawn landed on the back of my head and ground my face in the ground.
Right.
Yeah.
And Jerry went around us.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Hey,
kept going down the hill.
that's a good segue to worst bail. What's the worst you sustained over the years?
I don't know. I've had some bad ones.
How many breaks?
Like 61, enough stitches to make a quilt.
60-something breaks. Yeah.
Oh, that one was bad. But I don't think I broke anything. I just end up with the wolves down off the hill. Yeah, the coyotes. Bo and I had a good one. We have a great picture of that one where I lost my nipple and half of my body, and he lost the other half. So you know what tandem is, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so Bo and I decided to go tandem like 50. We got about 49, and Bo says, this is too fast for tandem, and he let me go. So now I'm riding sideways tandem, and so is Bo on my ass, and we're both in shorts, and we used to make crop sleeveless shirts, because
Strong look.
oh yeah,
It's a strong look.
and the shorts were like they were literally short. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So we have a picture of us standing next to each other, and it's just insane. Every time I show people that picture, I go, "Oh my God!"
We're gonna need to get a hold of that.
Oh yeah,
photo.
no, I think I have it on my
For the
phone.
listeners, yeah, we'll get that
It's
going.
it's crazy. And then we used to take the scabs off and put them in a beef jerky jar and see who got the real beef jerky and who got the scab.
I hope that's a fake story.
It's not
And don't eat red
I don't
meat
tell
anymore.
fake stories. Yeah.
And listeners, that again was why I'm vegan and have been vegetarian now for 30 years. Right there.
It's vegan
that'll do it.
scabs.
That's true.
Yes.
It's human meat, not animal. All right. So there came a point when you knew you were done with skateboarding. You knew you were done with downhill, right?
Done with racing, yeah.
Done with racing.
Yeah. I still love
You
skateboarding.
still wanted to go fast, though, right? Was the speed?
Yeah,
was
yeah.
The thrill of the speed still there?
Yeah, so the whole time I was racing motorcycles in the desert, got all the way up to a level of being sponsored by Honda and then Kawasaki. My brother faster than God, so nobody could beat him. So it was good for me because I had to chase him.
So you're into motorcycles at the same time you were racing downhill? Is it all
Yeah, and go-karts. I raced brief NASCAR, boats, drag boats, circle boats, pretty much everything I could possibly, anybody would put me in.
You raced Baja 1000.
Yep, a few times. And then 2 years ago, I built a electric car with another company and broke the electric car world record at Bonneville Salt Flats. So I'm in the 200 mile an hour club and the 100 mile an hour club, the 200 on land and the 100 in gravity. But I'm going to go back to Bonneville next year. So racing will never stop. You know, I can't stop racing.
Can't slow down.
But I don't know how to slide, so I couldn't race downhill.
Yeah.
I didn't get my drifter card, so I would just bowling ball through everybody.
That's true. Jerry, Madrid still has like the preeminent downhill team.
Yeah.
Hate to put you on the spot. Has Roger had any influence on any of those guys? Have you ridden with any of those guys, Roger?
No. I don't even know if they know my name.
Oh, they know who you are. they know the tuck.
We'll make sure that they we
Obviously
remedy
the
that.
tuck, and Roger kind of perfected it. So I think that goes a long way with all those guys.
You did a podcast with Zach Maida.
Yeah. And it was quite interesting because Zach came to my office, and when a lot of people come into the sport, Zach, I would say, has transitioned to the good side for me. But there's some other people that just have no regard for history, or I'll leave it at that. And but it was cool because he came there thinking that, you know, that was Jared Iwanik's helmet, that was so and so, that one, that drop through was invented by so and so, and all of a sudden he's like, wait a minute, all this stuff started back then? And I'm like, yeah, I made that helmet. I made those trucks, the drop through. We made that 1 million years ago. You know what I mean? It was all made either in my shop or Jerry's shop. And along with Tom Peterson and Larry Balma, you know what I mean? But it's just funny. You know, they think Fred, the GMR truck guy, you know, is the innovator. I have a crazy story about that guy. In fact, I was at Jerry's booth when he was telling me how everybody before 2000 didn't know how to ride. But it's just crazy. You know, I don't know any other form of racing that this happens. Like everybody at Indy knows who the Unzers are. They know who Michael Andretti is. You know what I mean? They know who AJ Foyt is. But skateboarding, for some reason, it's strange. Like somebody asked me, you know, who was out of all the street skaters, you know, they don't even think I know street skaters because I do downhill. Again, I'm in the high school band, not in skateboarding. And so they say, like, who's your favorite street skater? I said, you know, my favorite street skater was always Chris Sen. Chris Sen doesn't even know I know who he is. But I just thought he was badass. I liked his energy. I liked everything about him. You know what I mean? Day One, Eric Costin. You know, there was just, of course, Rodney. I mean, that guy's ridiculous. Stacy was always super cool to me. But there's people that don't even know who Rodney is. You know, it's like, are you out of your mind?
Yeah.
You know, it's like saying you read the Bible, but you don't know who God is.
Now, is that in terms of yourself? Is that a comparison to yourself?
No, not at all. I'm just saying the history of downhill.
Do you think a part of it? So yeah, I mean, I think it's easy to fault younger generation that doesn't really do their homework and know their history, but it comes down to, you know, some people aren't history buffs. Some people don't care about history.
I think
some
it's
people are English majors, some people are math majors, some people don't like history, right? And then I think it's very much kind of a niche world for people that eat and sleep and live and breathe this stuff to, you know, not only actively search out where stuff came from, and it's just they kind of live the life, and so they kind of know. It's like record collectors. It's like, you know, everyone that's a nerd about what they're into kind of has a handle on the history of the sport and where things came from. You think it's generational? Do you think that it's is it easier to fault the younger generation?
So I got a question for you. Is skateboarding a lifestyle or a sport?
It's a lifestyle.
Okay. Well, there's why. Because a lifestyle is part of a club.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? There's no history to clubs most of the part, unless you're in the Hells Angels, you know, in Sunny Barges. But so I think there's a fine line there all the time, because there are people that are athletic and see it as a sport, and they want it to be called a sport. But the purest skateboarders see it as a lifestyle.
Yep.
And they get pissed off, or they don't associate to that that terminology of it being a sport, but then the athletes don't want to be in a club.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think what happens is this happened to me. When ASR transitioned into Agenda, we're staying the entire world.
These are trade shows we're talking about.
Yeah, trade shows for the industry. I went up to a guy that I knew a long time, a lot of respect for him, and we were talking about downhill and stuff. And I said this and this and this and this, and he says, "What are you talking about? There was only like 4 races." I'm like, "Holy crap!" I'm like, 4 races. I know I raced over 300 races, so I don't even know what you're talking about. And I mean, we have them all documented, and so there it is. There's the epitome of what's going on is because the comment is partially ego driven because if I wasn't there, it didn't happen. And then the other one was, I don't give a crap. Do you know what I mean? That doesn't affect my lifestyle of skateboarding.
Right.
I think because I was the racer and not the lifestyle guy, I suffered a long time of trying to find my costume so they would accept me. I mean, I think I wore that, what do they call those hats? Those little like fedora, but not, is that what they're called? I don't know what they're called.
Sure.
You get away with it.
Right.
Like, I tried it maybe once, right? And it's like, I just look so stupid. You know, I tried old tennis shoes because maybe that'll make me cool. You know, I remember trying the plaid shirt out with like an old T-shirt. You know, I tried every costume you could possibly try.
Yeah.
And I look back now, dyed my hair every color you can dye your hair. And I look back now and I think, so sad. I wasted so many years trying to be someone. And I don't fit the skateboarding lifestyle.
Right.
You know, I will spend 8 hours on a set of bearings to beat people. That's not a lifestyle.
Do you consider skateboarding a sport?
I consider it a sport. I think it's an incredible sport that takes incredible skill. Anytime you have like downhill, there's no judging. The winner's the winner. I don't like bumping and cheating and slamming people into. If you're gonna race.
Yeah.
You know, like we didn't have that back then. You know what I mean? So that's the part that kind of is the fine line of not sport, because if you can just slam the guy when in doubt, take him out, that's not a sport.
Yeah.
You know, that doesn't happen in any other sport. So I would say I would love for it to be a sport, but I don't know if the characters could be a sport.
I think to me personally speaking, what appealed to me about skateboarding was that it was the antithesis of an organized sport, and there was such an autonomy to it and an independence to it that to me it can't be a sport. You know, to me it was like the antithesis of the jock and the accepted popularized sporting lifestyle, or you know. So, but is it possible you can keep a foot in both camps, right?
I mean, it's a culture, that's for sure. Obviously, every skateboarder is either a photographer or an artist and a musician and somewhat suicidal once a week. You know what I mean? And so, I mean, there is something about that. But I think because we all like to compete too, because skateboarding's so hard. I mean, the tricks are insane when you think about it. Like for a guy to learn a kickflip, it's going to take him a solid month of trying every day to perfect it, you know, while he's riding.
Yeah.
So I think that it's so hard that it automatically turns into a competition. But I think that what has happened in my over 50 years of skateboarding is that the skateboarders grew up and became exactly who they hated. And I only know this through Fresh Park, because at Fresh Park, I'm thinking, wait, I'm supplying the obstacles you all wanted when we were kids for your kids, and you're trashing me? You know what I mean? Seriously, is it that important? You're just going to trash me?
I think if there's one thing we've all learned is that people will hate anything they can possibly hate.
But think what skateboarding was. Skateboarding was all these people that don't want to be judged, including me, and just accepted, right? And then they turned into the people that are the most judgmental, non-acceptable people on the planet. So it's like,
isn't that every subculture or culture or genre though, to an extent? You know,
I don't think synchronized swimming has that.
They might.
Yeah,
they might. I don't know any of those people, but it's possible.
Nude.
I don't know. Maybe. Well, outside of the skateboard world, outside of your endeavors with Fresh Park, let's talk a little bit about the biotech industry. Right?
So
how did that come about?
14 years ago, I'm watching this thing on TV, and it says, I've been an inventor really my whole life. And so it says,
How many patents do you have?
37. So
what was the first invention? What was number one?
Cordless speakers.
Is that right?
Yeah. And I don't know anything about electricity. I can't wire one wire correctly.
Well, that's why they're cordless.
I just took crap apart. Yeah, there you go. Wireless. And so So I was watching the show. I think it was CBS or ABC, and they were talking about the highest forms of germs and diseases brought into the household is on a purse, because purses are expensive, exotic. They don't clean them. Now, for the record, I'm not a germaphobe. I'm not like the 5-second rule. I'm like the 5-day rule. So the bologna sandwich on the concrete that's been there 5 days, I'll probably still eat it.
Still good.
Yeah.
Flip
still
the bugs
good.
off
Yeah,
and
yeah.
move on.
Yeah. You know, that's just me.
Yeah.
I grew up drinking out of the hose and thought mold made things slippery, you know? So, I watched that and I just kept thinking about it. And I was like, I bet I could make something to fix that. And I know my wife had an entire laboratory in the closet. So I thought of this thing that's like a photo scanner, like they used to have back then. They were a lot bigger. And so I came up with the name GermScan. I researched that they had these mercury vapor bulbs that were UVC, and they would clean water with them and clean all the germs. So I put a UVC bulb in a photo scanner, and I called it GermScan. And then I got the trademark for GermScan, and then I got the patent for the GermScan. Well, then as you know, I could only afford to go as fast as I could go, because if you don't come out big, then somebody's just going to steal it from you. So I just paced myself, did other things, Fresh Park, everything else. And so as it evolved into LEDs. And so then I started figuring out how to make my own LEDs. And then from then till now, GermScan's now involved into a germ reduction program, disease alert system like the Amber Alert. We have 17 patents just for that, a couple utility patents, 4 trademarks, just got evaluated at a lot of money. But all of a sudden, 2 years ago, a gift showed up called COVID. And it's like, oh, geez, I wish I was in production. But then I had, you have to be able to pivot. It's
Right.
never the end unless you make it the end. And so I just looked at it and I said, wait a minute. What do they sell more? Fire systems with fire sprinklers, fire alarms, fire extinguishers, fire signs, evacuation maps. Do they sell those and install those during the fire or after the fire? So I was like, perfect. We'll wait till it's over. So in that time, I started building hand sanitizers, sanitizers for tablets in schools, all these things. And basically, the secret to sales is marketing, and the secret to marketing is behavior change. If you can cause behavior change in somebody, then they do it. You know what I mean? So a lot of things in history that cause behavior change. So this basically saved me about $3 billion of marketing to cause behavior change. Now everybody's behavior has changed. So it doesn't matter, COVID or no COVID. So anyway, that company now will be going public, stuff like that. But it's pretty crazy. I mean, I probably have just under 2 million in it after 14 years, and everything's done. We got assembly that's going to go on in Henderson, Nevada. We're working with some tribes to help them, and then it'll be in casinos and schools. And so I just decided to not go the retail market and be another trinket. So we're the B2B people. We're building stuff for elevators and all that stuff. It's crazy because I didn't grow up this guy. Like I said, I can't wire anything.
Right.
But my grandfather always said, know what you don't know and you'll be successful.
Yeah.
And I just got badass people, that are in my group. And hopefully before I die, I make them rich.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's my goal, is to make the whole tribe comfortable, with financially. And then out of the blue one day, I invented this trailer dolly because I have a race trailer, a boat trailer, all these trailers, and I got tired of buying these trailer dollies, so I invented a trailer dolly. And my wife said, "Oh, it's like a tugboat," so I named it Trailer Tug, and I got the patent, and it went to number 1 on Amazon in like 2 months, and now it's number 1 in Forbes, and it's like the little engine that could. It just, I don't know, we probably sell 8 a day, 7 days a week, and
Really?
I wish they all went that way. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It came back to even in 6 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
That is crazy.
So who knows what I like to invent? I just
Yeah.
like to solve problems and make money out of it. We invented a lot of stuff for skateboarding. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know how many wheels are today that came because of everything we did.
Well, and shapes and molds and concaves
and trucks and everything. Bearings.
Yeah. We touched on that a bit.
Yeah.
Speaking with Jerry on the first episode.
We were
but-
finding ceramic bearings before anybody knew there were ceramic bearings.
And we were lucky enough to have Jerry
Yeah.
at not our disposal, but jumping in there and helping shape the way boards were. Because he did race, he was a very fast guy. So
And
he
bail you out of jail.
understood.
Yeah.
You had jury for that
Bail
too.
us out of jail.
Sure.
Everybody you meet that's one of my old friends, they're going to say, "Oh, I used to bail him out of jail." And Esther, my wife, says, "Does everybody have that story?" I go, "I was in jail quite a few times."
Some of us didn't.
That'll
have
be
money
episode
to
3
have
is Roger's jail adventures. We can
They
make
were
a
all
whole
for
episode
skateboarding
out
and
of that.
fighting.
Yeah.
Like, no felonies. We had a party once, and these people came in, outsiders, and they decided that they're going to kind of ruin some stuff at the house. So Bo and I just stepped up and started wailing on people, and we're like back to back, just taking up. And then all of a sudden, Jerry comes out of the blue, like Superman, like a Batman. He comes in, he grabs 2 people from the back of their shoulder, slams them against the garage, and is like, "Nobody's going to do to that, my boy. Nobody's doing this to my boys." And it was on, man. It was like out of the movies. It was like the biggest gang fight you
Rumble.
ever seen.
True Rumble.
It was a rumble. It was
Yeah.
nuts. And it wasn't the only one. We did. And then where did we go? Grinder. Let's go get something to eat. This is over. Yeah.
Work up an appetite, go to the grinder.
Bring it back to Grindr.
It was so real. Like, I know everybody throws around that word authentic. It's so authentic. It's so organic. Oh my God. But we were authentically organic. I mean, it was just awesome. Like, we were making up shit as we were going along, and then it became shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know how many times we had world championships on a parking curb. Oh, this is the Japanese world championship for rock and rolls or axle stalls. They don't even call them that anymore. But hours. How many times were we up till 5 a.m. just skateboarding?
A lot.
Yeah. Like we did street skating as much as we did downhill, but we weren't DP, we weren't, Alva, we weren't Hasoi, we weren't those guys.
Yeah.
But we skated a lot. You saw my rack at my shop. How many skateboards do I have? I still have probably 30 boards.
You still skating today?
I love it. Yeah.
Not racing, but skating. Still like to go fast.
I love it.
Yeah.
I'd love to go 400. I mean,
So
that's
2022, what's in your garage right now?
is a lot.
It's a big garage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely the fantasy factory. Everybody that comes there is like, "Oh my God."
Yeah.
Off-road race car, hot rods, streamliner, yeah, for Bonneville. I got a pontoon boat that goes 62 miles an hour. Because the wife gets to have a comfortable boat in the shade that she can text on, and I get to beat everybody.
Yeah.
So, a lot. Everything has to go fast.
Motorcycles
Even
these
my
days?
truck's fast. Yeah,
Two wheels? What do you got out there right now?
Desert bike, Kawasaki. Yeah, that's my favorite thing is riding in the desert. But you can't anymore because all the people that were jet skiers became UTV drivers, and so they come over the hill and kill you. So there's so many UTVs in the desert. It's just so scary to.
Yeah.
I mean, we're going 90 to 100 across the desert, and to me, it's like flying. It's just so awesome. And but man, it's scary. Every hill you go over, there's going to be one of these razors coming the other way, and just that's it.
Top speed on 2 wheels? Do you have a record? Do you have
I don't have any records.
knowledge?
I know that I've been 112 in the desert. I was on Jacques Cousteau. We were racing the Baja 500, and Jacques Cousteau was doing a special at the Sea Cortez. I was riding with a guy named Randy Norman, and we're going across Sea Cortez, and then it came on TV like 2 months later that they're following this guy at 112, and it was me laying down on the tank going across the desert. But I went 117 on a water ski when I was like 18, and that was slow.
Yeah.
I mean, I probably got like 17th place. They were going like 130 then.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't call me good, but I did it. I don't know. I like world records. I like going fast. I like also helping people go fast. I mean, that's probably that's why the Hickey Speed tagline is making fast things go faster. Because if I can't make it go faster, I have a friend that can.
Yeah. So what is Hickey Speed exactly?
It's like a club.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I still sell my wheels, and I definitely give way more T-shirts away than selling them. But there are people that want to buy them, and it's just fun. You know what I mean? People will call me and I'll go to Bonneville and people will ask me, "Can you help me with this? Can you help me with that?" And then they get a world record, and it's the greatest thing in the world.
So what's the this and that? What do you talking about performance issues?
Aerodynamic,
Yeah.
performance. My oldest memory of my dad's race car was a 53 Studebaker, and it was in our garage, and I don't know how old I was, 7, 8 years old, and all the little guys came, no, I was probably 10. All the little guys, you're a little man at that age, so they all came over, and my mom and dad went to the river, and they left us with a babysitter because my brother was 7 years younger, my sister's 4 years younger. And it's a blown alcohol 53 Studebaker that's got a Hemi in the front seat, and he sits in the back seat, right? And he's getting it ready for Bonneville, and so they all go to the river. So anyway, all the little guys come around, and they're like, hey, can you start it? You're a little man, man. You can't say no. I mean, it's impossible to say no. I said, yeah, I could start it. And so I put my friend on the hood, and I said, see this opening right here? Hold on right here, and take this bottle and squirt this bottle in this thing right here when these things open, the injectors, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. And it had a built-in starter. It wasn't like the kind they do now. And so I get in, I put my dad's nitro mask on, put his helmet on. I hit the pre-pump for the oil and all that stuff. And I go, okay, when it opens, squirt it in there. Squirt it in there. He squirts it in there. This thing fires up. It's like 4,000 horsepower. Fires up. Things bouncing on the jacks. Mm-hmm. And I see him bouncing up and down on the hood. And so all my little friends are like spanking the game. They're all like, yeah. And you can smell the fuel and everything. Yeah. This story is in Vanity Fair in 2001. And so I whapped the motor, because I got to. Yeah. Well, it wasn't warmed up, and so it backfired and blew like a dragon flame out the injector, and it burnt all his hair off his head and burnt his whole face, every hair there was. And and it shut off, and the only way you can get the fire to stop is start it back up because it sucks it back in. So I started up for a second, shut it off, and I remember he was just on the hood smoldering and scared to death. And so all the kids are running around because they don't know what happened, and the babysitter is pounding on the garage door because we locked it. And I'm like, oh, shit. So I bail out of the car. I pull him off the hood. I tell everybody they got to go. I close. I take 2 spark plug wires, and I unlock the garage door, and I start going like this. And when she comes out, I go, look, they spark. And that's the only thing I could come up with. So she's thinking that I'm just igniting some live wires from the 110 socket. And so she told my dad that that's what I did. Well, it wasn't until the Vanity Fair article that my dad realized that, because he said, I got to Bonneville with that car, and I was thinking, I never started this car. How is it that this thing's run? And that's what happened. He didn't know that until so many years later.
That's great.
Jerry literally has been everything to everybody. I mean, okay, go back to the skateboarding industry, the sport or culture. Well, Jerry's been both. Mm-hmm. So as much as I think egotistically I deserve respect or some credit for this and that, Jerry is 14,000 times that. And somehow he's never pissed off ever.
Mm-hmm. Not that I've seen.
No, I've never seen him mad. I've seen him throw people, and he still wasn't mad. Yeah.
Still had a smile on his face.
Yeah. One story, we're going to Capitola, and we're in Jerry's van. There's 200 of us in his van. And so Jerry asked me if I wanted to drive, and I'm like, okay, I'll drive, because they were all tired. We probably left early. That's probably why.
Is that the time you got on top of the car? We had the losers on.
No, that was the time before that I got on top of the van. Yeah. So this one we're driving. I got these mirrored shades on. I got long hair, and Jerry and I forget who else is in the back. Maybe Dave Perry and whoever else. So they're all sleeping. So I take a skateboard. I think it was like a Primo freestyle board, and I wedge it between the seat and the throttle, full blast, just flat out. And I got both my feet up on the dash. And I'm just driving, and we're going like 100. You know what I mean? All of a sudden, I look in the mirror, and here's a red light. I'm like, oh, shit. Getting pulled over. I got 100 warrants. I'm driving 100. I can't unwedge this skateboard so the cop thinks I'm running from him.
You can't slow down. Yeah, you're just going.
Oh, my God. So somehow we get the skateboard out. I go to get out. Jerry goes, just stay in here. The guy comes up to the window, and Jerry says something like, can I talk to you? So Jerry goes back. He flashes, the fireman badge and tells the whole story. Oh, I get out, and I'm going to walk back, and Jerry's like, get back in the van. And so somehow Jerry talked him out of it, and I didn't even get a ticket, and we went on our way.
That's what a team leader does. That's what a team manager does.
I can't even tell you how many times this guy saved me. Holy cow. Recently, this is another story, Jerry came out with kind of my version, and it was a few years ago, and it had the picture of me at
Your version of a board.
At Laguna Seca, yeah, like my style, but way bigger. Because everybody started riding giant boards. And then I came here one day, and I talked to Andrew McCardo. Is that McCardo? Mm-hmm. And I said, why are you guys riding these giant logs? And he's like, oh, they're fast. I'm like, they're not fast. Well, what do you think's fast? I go, small. I go, little. I go, you're not torturing the bearings, and you can get through a corner. Well, then make me one. And so I made him one, and he went out and he got second. And then all of a sudden, boards start getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Mm-hmm. But anyway, when this 40-incher came out, Jerry says, we want to use the Laguna Seca graphic, but everybody on the team doesn't want Roger Hickey on the board. And I'm like, oh, well, that sucks. And I said, all right, you remember this?
Yeah.
So I said, all right, I'll do the artwork for you. He goes, oh, okay, perfect. So I did the artwork. I gave it to him. You guys made a lot of those.
Yeah.
Good. And there was a lot of boards, and everybody had their own names on them, right? So it was about a year later, and I go, you guys ever look at the goggles? And in the reflection of the goggles, it says RH.
There's some out there right now, too.
Every board had
A little
RH.
subtle product
Yeah,
placement.
I'm like, oh, you're
Nice.
getting my name.
Yeah.
Whether you know it or not, you're getting my name.
Nicely done.
Oh, yeah. I told Bo that story when we were in my office the other day, and he looked up and he goes, you can't unsee it when you see it.
Right.
Yeah. I like doing stuff like that. I designed the gateway cow boxes for their computers one time, and you'd stack 3 high and 3 wide and had a big giant lowercase RH on it until I started bragging, and then they made me change it. It's like, oh, man, I should have just shut up.
Yeah, never reveal the secrets.
I know.
What's next for Roger Hickey?
Well, I'd like to get GermScan completely taking care of everybody and going. But I probably would like to sell Fresh Park at some point. Kind of burned out. You know what I mean? It's doing better than it's ever had. When I expanded it to a lot of 2-wheel stuff, like we make BMX portable pump tracks and tracks. We make moto ramps. Now we did a deal with Stasic. Those are little electric bikes that are blowing up
Everywhere.
everywhere. So you see our stuff on their commercials, and we have a deal with them. And then RC cars, we're everywhere with them now. So I kind of diversified the whole line to not just get trashed by skateboarders every day, or hear OC Ramp's opinion. And so I think it's at a place where it would be good for somebody. And then Trailer Tug, I don't know what I'd do with that because it's just so funny. You know what I mean? It's just such a cool little thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would like to get GermScan done and bigger. And then I want to retire from worrying, but I never want to retire from working. So I would love to be in a position where I get to build stuff and do stuff without worrying.
Man, that's like the new American dream.
Yeah.
I don't know how to help you with that.
I need to build a financial moat. Like Johnny Depp has a financial moat.
Sure.
Like when people go, he lost $6 million in that trial, I go, that's a financial moat. That's when you have so much money, you don't care. I mean, Kardashians, what's their talent?
Making money.
That's it.
That's it.
That is their
quite
talent.
literally.
But that's that's the youth of today.
Yeah.
Nobody's working like Jerry and Bo
No.
and I,
Yeah.
Trying to see did we actually make $40 an hour? No, because we own the company. Oh yeah. So we made like 7,
Yeah.
while they show a boob and make 250 grand.
Yeah.
I'll show my boobs for 250
Me too.
grand.
Let's put that on the record. Bo Brown is willing to go
All
topless.
3,
on
and he'll
this.
show all 3 nipples.
Once we get the video podcast transitioning, we'll have Bo probably topless for most of the episodes. I
Nice.
think we've generated a little income.
In a
Well,
clown
it's his
mask.
words.
In a clown
Yeah.
mask coming out of a van with smoke that says candy.
Roger, do you have any shout outs you'd like to mention on this podcast?
I think that put Jerry Madrid in the damn skateboarding Hall of Fame. I mean, come on.
I'll second that.
It's
Sure.
not a skateboarding Hall of Fame. It's a culture club, Hall of Fame. So I'll say that one. I would say I wish people would understand what Fresh Park is and what it was built for, and they'd quit trying to trash us online. It was just to make people have something to play.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be the X Games. I don't know, man.
What about your wife? You're going to shout out to
Nah. Yeah. This isn't about her. No, I'm kidding. No, Esther's awesome. And then just Jerry. I mean, there's only Jerry, Larry, and Tom, with Neil.
It's the Three Stooges, isn't it?
I think
Larry,
so.
Jerry, and Tom. I
Yeah.
think that's right.
Yeah. And Neil came in after Tom left, so that is like the Three Stooges.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we certainly want to thank you for taking your time to speak
Yeah.
to us a little bit today, and hope it wasn't too.
And downhillers
Too
are
painful.
skateboarders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can say that again if you'd
Yeah,
like.
yeah.
Reiterate that.
Just because we don't kick flip at 63 miles an hour doesn't make us not a skateboarder. Yeah, I love skateboarding. I wish it could figure out what it is.
Yeah.
I think that
Hey,
a
maybe
lot-
that's the beauty of it. I mean,
Yeah.
We don't know what it
Except
is.
for there's a lot of people doing a lot of good things that
Yeah.
aren't making the money or the recognition they should.
Yeah.
I don't know where it is. It's such a weird. I don't even know a parallel of skateboarding. It's such a underground and above ground thing that I don't know where it is. Thank you for having me, though.
Hey, thanks for being here, man.
I have a hard time talking, as you can tell, so I always like when somebody influences me to talk.
Yeah. That.
I have no stories.
Yeah. As far as shout outs, again, Jerry Madrid. He's been much more than a brand owner. He's been a big brother.
I wonder if there's
dad.
any Jerry's left.
There's one sitting right next to me.
No, I mean like two people. You know what I mean? I think that everything's so polarized and separated and political and all that crap.
There probably is.
I'm sure
people
there
out
is.
there.
Yeah.
Shout out to Eagle, doing
Yeah.
a great job on
Dude,
this podcast.
that's such a cool name. Was that your real name?
It is. That's an episode in and of itself. So once again, thanks for checking
Well,
in.
if they're listening to where to find the podcast, don't they already know?
Well,
There's other ways.
there's
Oh,
there's
all
not
right.
just one, Roger. Now
Okay,
this is
okay.
modern times, man. We are out there.
Where do we find this fire that we're in?
Yeah. So thanks again for checking in on episode 2. You can find us on SoundCloud. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, and you can find us on Spotify.
And freshpark.com if you give me a link.
Fresh that we offered you shout outs, and you,
Oh,
you
yeah.
skipped Fresh, but it's
Oh,
too
yeah.
late now. So
forgot about
we'll edit that out.
Yeah.
But,
Okay, good.
Fresh Park, we'll fix
Yeah.
that. We'll get it in
It's
there.
calm.
So thanks again for everyone that's listening. We'll be back with episode 3 in the near future. And again, thanks again to Roger for being here. And thanks for
thank
Bo, and obviously thanks to Jerry for letting us do this.